What's going on, guys? Kind of rainy and overcast and nasty today, but it is, let's see, 55 degrees Fahrenheit. At least that's what that says. It says 12 degrees Celsius. And we're currently charging at 2.1 amps. Looks like we've added to the sound system in here. These speakers here sound really good, but I just like to mention that well, at least one of the guys that had something to do with putting this in here, just bad things happen to stuff in here, and well, I replaced these like a half dozen times. So, just bear that in mind that bad things happen to stuff in here. But it sounds really good. This receiver here is quite a bit more powerful than mine. This one here is like 360, and this one here is 240. But yeah, we got bigger sound. Kind of things I've been working on, and some carnage, and this lawn tractor here got it going. Carburetor on it. It's probably gonna end up needing replaced at some point. It's just been clogged up so many times and cleaned out so many times. A little bit of history of this engine. The guy I got this tractor from, I actually fixed it up a couple times for him, and every time he got it back, he just let it sit. He'd mow the yard once with it and then park it, and then the carburetor would get all nasty. And the engine that's on here, I actually got it on like a little MTD tractor, and it was replaced. It was a replacement engine, and it was only used a couple times after the engine was put on the tractor. The tractor really wasn't that great a shape. I don't know why somebody would buy an engine for it, but same thing. The guy put it on, and I think he passed away, and it just sat. And then I got it and got it running, and then it just sat. And then I sold this engine to the guy that had this tractor. Same thing. He just let it sit. And it's just I got this carburetor going, but it just kept draining. The float would stick on it, and it would drain into the crankcase. And I cleaned it all out and drained all the oil out, put it back on, and I put gas in it, and thinking, I even blew through this, activating and the float in it, and it seemed to be working fine. Put gas in it, filled the engine with oil, and it wasn't flooding a long period of time, just long enough to get the oil in the engine, and it was already filling up the cylinder, hydrolocking. So I cut this line and put this gas valve in. I should have put it in there to begin with, but put the gas valve in and took the spark plug out, turned the engine over and blew all the gas out of it, and put it, spark plug back in, turned the gas on, and just started it up and ran it around the yard, figuring, like a lot of times, like the harmonics from the engine will actually help these floats out a little bit, and it seemed to have. It's not dumping gas in anymore. It is turning on and off. But when I am done with it, I turn it off, right here. And believe it or not, this is fuel line. It's kind of weird stuff. It's really hard to use, like flexibility wise. I'll show you what it is. Went to Rural King, and this is what they had for fuel line. So I don't know. Whatever. I bought, two of these. I actually ended up with two different brands because they only had one of a cheaper one. But whatever. They got a brand new fuel filter on it. Other things. things that's breaking. At the end of winter, I got this bike here going, and I got this bike here. All, everything that I could find that was, wrong with it was fixed up. Like I replaced one of the A-arms because the ball joint was bad. Fixed the starter clutch, fixed the exhaust a little bit, sort of, just kind of make it so it stays on there. And, it's all going good and everything, but the clutch cable is about ready to break. So that'll be the thing that stops this thing. And when I was fixing up both bikes, I was kind of looking at like kind of rationing one of them, and I was going to ration this one, and pretty much I ended up with 2 junk batteries. So I took the battery box out of this one, and this bike here actually has, get it off, there's actually 2 batteries in here. The battery box for the other bike's in here, then it has this battery. Both these batteries are junk, but together, it starts it up and everything. And what I was looking at was, once, this thing here needing a clutch, some other things done to it, and I was just kind of looking at, something major went wrong with this. I can buy a brand new battery and put the battery box back in here and get this one going. But what we've been doing is actually getting both of them out, and we've just been using jumper cables and hooking them to the battery leads. It's just kind of hanging down. They're in a kind of a situation where they never touch anything. So, but just using jumper cables to get it running, and pretty much when kids take off on it, they just, one of them's pretty skilled with the clutch, and not killing it, but the girls pretty much just run it and never stop. They just always keep it going. But things I also done to this before, it got out was the, I made a previous video about brake calipers. I changed the brake pads on it, and this tie rod end right here was junk. And the only one I had with this thread that would go into this rod, or drag link, had a bigger shaft right here. So I ended up drilling the spindle out to get it to go in. Not real too concerned about drilling the spindle out because I replaced the bearings in this like last year, and the journal on the spindle is worn down like from a seized bearing, previous seized bearing, so it's like wobbly. It's not because of bearings, because that journal's worn. So the spindle's kind of junk anyway, so I really didn't feel bad about drilling it out. A lot of the times with fixing these bikes, I just do dumb stuff to make it work. Let's see if I can pull this one out a little bit so I can get in there and kind of show you. But this bike here has been out about 5 times so far this year, 5 different days, and they usually run around all day. But for whatever reason, when I put this whole rear end in this bike, I made sure that these splines on these hubs was greased really well, and I made sure that the nut was tight. But for whatever reason, if I can show you, it's about stripped. It's waddling all around and about ready to strip out. And so pretty much what will happen with this is, also the bearings is in here, they're going bad. I never replaced them. They're just, this whole rear end came out of that bike I bought not too long ago, last fall. Well, last winter. And pretty much I just shoved the whole thing in here. And there was a question of whether or not the bearings was bad or the journals was worn down on this axle because it had a little bit of play. But it sounds like you're, crunching up cans in the rear end here. So replace the bearings, get that all new, and then what I'll do is I actually just weld that hub. it'll be all right welded up until something in here needs, this needs torn apart again, and then I'll actually have to destroy the axle by cutting it to get it apart. But these bearings, from what I've been seeing, like keeping track of stuff, they last about 100 hours. So I figure put new bearings, gets all good back here, weld that up, and it should be good for. I'll get another 100 hours out of this junk axle. But you like my baffle? It's a sprocket hub. But the carburetor on this bike is one of them little PZ30 Chinese carburetors. It works out alright until you get up to real high RPMs, or you try dumping the throttle on it, and it was basically, it's just too small. It's not too small for the CC of the engine. It's too small because of the fact that this is a 4-valve engine. It runs like it's bigger than what it is whenever you get up to higher RPMs, or dumping a lot of gas, or the need to dump a lot of gas in. So I ended up putting in this stock muffler on here and putting a baffle in it to give a little bit of back pressure, and it's still, you still see like little hiccups in the due to the fact the carburetor's too small, but it's not as bad with this muffler on. I had that high performance one on here, and it was really bad with it. It sounded good, but it didn't run very good with the little carburetor on. Actually, when you buy those performance mufflers, they oftentimes come with a jet to put in the carburetor that's supposed to be on here, to dump more gas. So, it's, it was twice too small, basically. So pretty much what I'm probably going to do is go back to the plan of rationing. I need to buy some parts for this one to even get it going. Also, the chain is, for whatever reason, I got rollers breaking out of the chain. Well, you can't see it now, but there's some rollers missing. And this is a O-ring chain. I don't know how old it is. It was something that came in a box of stuff that I bought. But it kind of fits funny. I guess maybe it is probably wore out. This chain needs replaced, bearings need replaced. The back brake pads, well, they're wore out, so they need replaced. Oh, so yeah, that's where we are with all this crap. So the other tractor, I think I might get that out. It's supposed to rain Sunday, so I won't be doing anything out in the yard. I'll get that other tractor going. Probably going to try mowing with this guy here. It seems really solid for its age. You know how like when they get old they kind of get, twisty and rockety? This thing is like really solid. But I'll get the other mower going just, if, in case something breaks or I need it. This is actually the first tractor I ever had that actually had real gears. Most of them I've had has either been hydrostatic or like the CVT, like shift on the go kind of thing. Never had one with actual real gears. Kind of odd how this one is only a 4-speed. Most of the time they're 5 or 6. But one thing I kind of noticed with it is like when you go to take off, you really have to let the clutch out easy, or it'll like pull up the front. And if you're on a hill, I mean, it could almost flip you over backwards. So it's one thing I kind of noticed with this gear thing is you really got to take it easy on letting out the clutch. But alright, well, I suppose I'll let you guys go. I have no idea how long these videos are on this camera because it doesn't say. It's probably in the menu somewhere. I can actually put it on there, but I haven't found it. But I'll catch you guys later.